Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Noelle and I do unboxings here, mostly lifestyle subscription boxes, but also some stationery, books, beauty, jewelry, and even a dash of Disney. So if you like unboxings, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel and hitting the notification bell. And as always, if you're already subscribed, thank you again so much for being here and welcome back. Today, at long last, it's been a little while, I have another Once Upon a Book Club adult selection box to share with you. This is actually the December box. It's taken me a while to get through the book, but I have to say that this book selection was perfect for the month of February. Now, if you're not familiar with Once Upon a Book Club, they are one of the oldest, probably best known book subscriptions because they have a really cool and really unique concept, which has now been copied by a few other subscriptions. Basically, when you receive the surprise novel, now they do hints ahead of time and you can actually email to find out exactly what the book is if you really want to. But as you read through the book, there's little notes on certain pages that correspond to gifts that are supposed to really bring the pages to life. Now, sometimes I feel like the quality of the items isn't like the highest, and sometimes I feel like the items, kind of their translation into a tangible gift, aren't like the best in terms of being authentic to what I think the characters in the book would have used. I get that sometimes they're making it a little bit more usable and obviously like cost effective because this box is only $34.99 plus $10 in shipping, but I think that they are really listening to feedback and kind of understanding that people are more into quality over quantity. I definitely felt that to some degree in this particular box, and I hope that continues to be the case in future months' boxes. I also just want to give them kudos for really listening to feedback. They recently took a step back with their VIP program and kind of reevaluated and figured out a way to sort of reward people who are getting the word out about this subscription, like myself, and I really appreciate them listening to that feedback. I felt like they really listened to the message that I wrote when I filled out the sort of questionnaire that they had asking for that feedback. So again, kudos to Once Upon a Book Club. We are on good terms again, and I'm looking forward to getting to review this box more in the future. Now, if you're not familiar, they do have an adult selection. They also have a young adult selection. Sometimes they come out with special editions. I know a lot of people really enjoy their Advent box around the holidays. So there's lots of different options if you're not necessarily wanting to subscribe for a long time, but obviously you do get a little bit of a price break if you do. I'll also leave a code for you guys in the description box below. It's mauinoel 10, and that will save you 10% on your own if this seems like a cool idea. So let's go ahead and talk about this particular box. Now, the book, like I said, was perfect for the month of February, which is when I finally got around to reading it. It was called The Lost Love Song by Minnie Dark, so you can kind of see the image. So it definitely has a music theme, which I thought was great. But let me go ahead and read the blurb to you. So it says, "Behind every great love song is a great love story. Concert pianist Diana is finally ready to marry her longtime fiancé, Ari. She's even composing a beautiful love song for him, which she finishes while on tour. Before she can play it for him, though, tragedy strikes and Diana is lost to Ari forever. But her song might not be. In Australia, the world has gone quiet for Ari as he struggles to cope with his loss. In Scotland, a woman named Evie is taking stock of her life after the end of another lackluster, almost relationship. Years of wandering the globe and failing to publish her poetry have taken their toll, and Evie might finally be ready to find what her travels have never been able to give her, which is a real home. Through a quirk of fate, Diana's song is passed from musician to musician, winding its way around the world. It might just bring these two lost souls together. With heart-wrenching emotion, the Lost Love Song explores what it means to be lost, what it means to be found, and the power of music to bring people together." So this was one of those great novels that sort of had all of these intersecting little vignettes and stories and characters. I could totally imagine it being created as like, you know, kind of a Love Actually style movie where you sort of slowly start to piece together how these characters are connected. And of course they would have to come up with an amazing piece of music because it's an imaginary piece of music, even though at the end of the novel I thought it was really cool. The author included the pieces of music, sort of the anthems for each of her characters that she had in mind in certain scenes, as well as for each of the characters. They each sort of had their own like leitmotif, which I thought was really cool. And then I, of course, definitely resonated with this because, not because I'm a musician, I wish I was, but because one of the characters is a poet. And if you guys didn't know, that is what I actually studied in college and grad school, is poetry. I once thought I was going to be a poet, and I definitely would love to get back into writing poetry, but I could kind of identify or sort of sympathize with her when she was sending out her poems to get rejected in the old school times before you actually sent out the printed poem versus just sending it as an email, and you get all your like rejection letters like stacked up. So anyway, let's get into this super cute book box and see what we've got. Now, they do always include a lovely quote card, which I think is a nice touch. It says, "Those that truly love have roots that grow toward each other underground, and when all the pretty blossoms have fallen from their branches, they find out that they are one tree and not two." And I loved that because I actually had a poem that I wrote back in college, which kind of had that same idea or imagery. And so again, it definitely resonated with me. And then in the back, we actually have a lovely letter. They've been doing this in several of the most recent boxes. We get a like nice note from the author, and they've often been able to sort of tie the book to our current events and how it's going to affect and speak to us in these crazy times. So I love that. I thought it was so nice. And this idea that inspired her to write the story was, could a lost song find its way around the world? Could it travel ear to ear, heart to heart, and back to the person for whom it was written? And of course, in the book, the answer to that is yes. They also always include, now it's kind of a big like worksheet style thing almost, but it does tell us a little bit more. They do kind of an interview with the author as well, although I feel like that like letter is like enough for me. They have discussion questions if you do want to approach the book as an actual book club, and then they have like read along dates, although they have been a little bit behind as well in shipping, so I feel like some of those read along dates have been a little bit fluid these days. The back has like kind of like a little worksheet that just says the soundtrack of my life playlist, which for me that would like be really hard, but you know how it is that there are certain songs that will instantaneously take you back to a certain moment or a certain like period of your life. I definitely have those. For me, like when I think of Damien Rice and all of those songs on that one Blower's Daughter like album, like man, that just takes me right back to living in New York and like all of the love and heartbreak and all of those things that I experienced during that time. So I'm sure you guys have some of that as well, and if you want to share in the comments, definitely do. So as I go through, I will be doing full spoilers because I'll be showing you the gifts that came along, and I'll be reading little excerpts from the book. So if you are still waiting to get this box, or sometimes if they're still available, if they haven't sold out, then you don't want to watch the gift opening quite yet. So let me go ahead and start with the first gift, which I believe was on page 186. So sometimes it's really nice and they give us a gift a little bit earlier on, but we kind of had to work for this one. So this is what it looks like. You get this nice little note that just says, "Open your gift." Now, I will say, you guys, I got this box actually I didn't arrive until like the beginning of January, but I had been having so many issues with so many packages arriving damaged or like things that had spilled inside, and this was no exception. And I did see some warnings in the Facebook group, but when I like opened it up just to kind of check and make sure everything was in there, sand came pouring out like all over the floor. And so I realized, okay, so there's sand in one of these. So I did have to open up a couple of the gifts to find the offending item, but I did, and I kind of cleaned it up. But yes, it was a little bit of a surprise. So that was a bummer. Now on page 186, let's see, it says, "Evie had no map pins, but she did have earrings. So she put a small silver star stud through the paper at Esperance. The next earring, a crescent moon, she pushed into the township of Bellingen in the New South Wales hinterland for no other reason than because this was a profoundly pretty part of the country." She's in Australia at the moment. "Lush, green, and hilly, yet not all that far from the coast, and because she had passed through there a few times and liked the atmosphere." So I thought this was cool, and so it came wrapped up in like sheet music, which I thought was a nice touch. And I did kind of like peek at this to make sure that there wasn't sand in there. Like there was sand in like the crevices and the cracks and corners of every package in here. But I was really excited to see, this is one of those fun scratch off maps, you guys. So you like, it's a whole world map. She was using one that was just of Australia, but I thought this was a nice, again, translation to something that's fun to have. I do have one of these already. I don't have a good place to like post it, but I have to like be very careful about it. I feel like when I finally do get around to doing it, because I'm kind of a neat freak, so I'll have to make sure that I can scratch things off very, very carefully. I'll have to get like the right tool to do it. I have been to a little over 70 countries, I think, at this point. I used to travel a lot before everything happened, but hopefully I will get back to that very soon. So let me see if I can just show you guys. So this is pretty cool though. So the back actually just has a bunch of information about different parts of the world, and then they did kind of like wrap it nicely with tissue, and you can kind of see, let me just pull back one of these. I'll try to show you guys over on Instagram as best as I can, but it's just kind of got this gold foil, just like a scratcher, like a lottery scratcher. So you get to scratch it off, and I believe it reveals some information about the corresponding countries underneath, which I thought was neat. So I thought that was a great interpretation of that particular map in the story. And then what was really cool, which I didn't realize until just now, you guys, they actually included the little stud earrings that she's using as push pins. So that is super cute, actually. You guys know I'm not like big into stud earrings, but I thought that was lovely. Again, it's not going to be like the highest quality in the world, but these are actually pretty cute. So we do have some stars and moons, just like she was talking about, some black hearts. That's great. Again, great for February, even though this was the December box. And then I love these like simple crystal rods here. That's definitely cool. So that was really neat. And they even, you know, have branded it. I'm sorry, it was upside down. So they even told us it's Evie's earrings, and it just even has that same quote about her not having push pins, so using the earrings instead. So I thought that was a really well done gift, and it was really like 2 gifts in one. So it was worth the wait until page 186. So let's look at the next one. I believe the next one is page 220. So they kind of came in quick succession after that. So then it says, he watched the road, but was aware of Evie in the passenger seat, fidgeting with the moonstone ring she wore on the middle finger of her left hand. He didn't know for certain what was going to happen next. She might not want to take things any further. She might decide no. Equally, she might really want to. So I kind of already knew what it was going to be when I read that, and I'm always really happy to get more like jewelry and accessories, because I think that's fun. So it came in this little red box, which I thought was sweet. I didn't open this one up because I could tell that there was no sand pouring out from it. And this I thought was adorable, you guys, that they gave us this little velvet red piano. Now, the character that they mentioned on the back, which was concert pianist Diana Clare. So she's known for wearing red dresses. So that was a good tie-in with this little container. And then inside, of course, we got the moonstone ring. But this is where I was like a little bit bummed, because I felt like this could have been executed a little bit better. So it is like a big ring, you guys, and what's kind of interesting to me is it's not adjustable. You can see that it's just got that bar in the back to keep the 2 bands together, so it's not going to work for everybody. I was surprised with a subscription that they didn't have that. And then it's not really a real moonstone, and it kind of looks a little plasticky, honestly, there. And then for me, I'm just not like into the like blingy rhinestones, because it just makes it so obviously costume jewelry. So it does fit. It doesn't actually fit my middle finger. It fits like my ring finger, but like I would just probably never wear a ring like this, and I don't think that the character Evie, the poet, would actually wear something quite this big and blingy either. I wish they had just given us something a little bit like more dainty and delicate, because that would have felt more authentic to the book, and I think would have been something that people would have worn a little bit more. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. I felt like there was such potential for this particular item, but it was okay, and I thought that the little piano was super cute. So again, like I said, after that we got gifts galore. So the next one was just 20 pages later on 240. So let me see, I think it's actually on 241. So it says, Evie lifted the lid and could not help but smile. The box was filled to about 1/3 of the way up with the sides with what appeared to be white sand, although the grains had particular sparkle to them that made Evie think there might be some glitter involved too. So that's what I did, is I kind of flipped through and looked for the word sand to know which gift was leaking. It said, wedged into the sand at an angle was a small glass vial stoppered with a cork. Inside this little vessel was a slip of paper, a message in a bottle. Evie opened it and used the tips of her fingernails to catch the edge of the paper and draw it out. The words were carefully and elegantly handwritten. So he does this thing where they talk about the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, which was like an online website, which kind of is where like the word sonder came from, which has kind of become this whole phenomenon. So he comes up with his own word, which is a selveru, the desire brought about by the knowledge that one has made a grievous error to travel through the universe to an alternative earth and merge there with a version of oneself who had the good sense not to have made the same error. So it was a very like sweet gesture as a means of apology, but it was a very messy one when it came to the actual gift. So we got this, and this is like one of those gifts that is definitely bringing the pages of the book to life, but you know, it's not like something I'm going to use. So there was actually a scroll of paper with that definition that was inside this vial of sand, but I had to like scoop all the sand up, and like by the time I did that, I couldn't actually fit the little scroll of paper in there. But that's like kind of a throwaway item, but it was cute, and I get that that's like a moment that they wanted to showcase as one of the gifts, but it wasn't like the most exciting one to me. And then finally, our last one was not until page 355, which is pretty much the end of the book. So this is how the song has actually traveled from person to some degree. So it says, not far from the bookshelves, it's kind of in a like a secondhand shop. It says, not far from the bookshelves, an old leather suitcase lay open on a table. It was packed end to end with sheet music. There were books full of tunes for the recorder, anthologies of popular classics and songs for Oklahoma and South Pacific, My Fair Lady and the Sound of Music. Squeezed in among them was a black leather manuscript book with a bright red ribbon for a placeholder. It sat there unregarded, but maybe one day somebody would pick it up and leaf through its pages. Maybe they would carry it to the counter and exchange it for the princely sum of 50 cents. Maybe the lost love song it contained would be found all over again. So of course we got that, and I was really happy to see that it wasn't actually just for writing music in. So it came in this lovely little box, which I thought was really nice. And then this was actually really pretty. So they gave us a pen, which is nice, and it didn't actually have any branding on it. And then this very simple, like almost like Moleskine style book that says music is the last thing we forget, which is something that is in the book. And I think it's this lovely idea because it is such a subconscious like thing that becomes a part of you, and it's not necessarily tied to memory, but it is a journal, and you can see it's lined, and it's really about, you can say the day of the week and everything. So it's a really nice lined journal with a nice red elastic to keep your place, and I thought that was a nice and useful item, and I like the quote that they selected for it. So overall, you guys, I thought it was a great box. My only disappointment really was the ring. The sand is not very useful, and it was definitely very messy, but the map, the cute little stud earrings, and then the notebook, I felt like made the value of the box worth it. Now, I just wanted to read you this one excerpt that I really loved, and she does talk about how the poems were actually written by a poet. It says, studying her own words, Evie saw how she had tried to capture an image of the plane twinning itself in the moments before disaster, so that only one of its selves plummeted towards the ocean while the other rose up and went. Where exactly, her unfinished poem didn't say. The instinct behind the poem was to offer a vision of hope, but Evie could see that the image wasn't the right one. The words on the page were not yet hitting the mark. Sometimes poetry felt like extraction, a kind of mining that involved hunting in the dark for seams of brightness and working out how to bring them up to the light. But she could now see that with this poem, she had been digging to one side of the place where the gold lay. And then she talks about how she comes up with this idea of Icarus. And you guys, that was one of the main poems in my undergraduate thesis, which was a poetry thesis, was a poem that I called Icarus. And it was really a love poem. It was about a relationship. So this like moment when I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, this book was meant for me. It's about a poet, and she uses the image of Icarus to like kind of talk about a relationship. So I just love when you have moments like that in a book where you're suddenly like, it's like someone was like in my mind, in my like undergraduate thesis, and I just thought it was such a cool moment, and that's such a fantastic description of what I think of poetry as well, like an extraction, sort of like going through the gesture, the motion, the idea over and over again until you can distill it into this very concrete and beautiful and succinct way of saying it. And that is why I love poetry so much. Let me know, you guys, if you enjoy poetry, if you do have a favorite poet, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear. I love the fact that Amanda Gorman's inauguration poem has gotten poetry into the world's mind again. I think that's an awesome thing because it's something that we definitely don't want to lose. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do give it a thumbs up. Definitely check Once Upon a Book Club out if you'd like this kind of reading experience, and hopefully I see you all very soon in my next unboxing.